Hello, welcome. My name is Austin Seagrave, and this is the third of my talks on the third evil, which is liberalism, the evil that follows on from Nazism and communism. It is true that now there is only one way to be true to humanity, to be a true human being, and that is to be a green racist. We take our definition of racist from the anti-racists, and in my second talk I told you that the anti-racists had shifted the definition from what it was in the beginning to what is now pretty well the opposite. In the beginning, the definition was of a race that believed it was a master race, the master race, I should say, and all other races were there to do the dirty work. And if they needed, if the master race needed more land, then that was what the world was for, just to provide more land for the expansion of the master race. That definition has now shifted to something quite different. It's now shifted. A racist is now one who tries to keep aliens out of his homeland. And from that point of view, one would have to say that the Poles, who put up something of a struggle against the German invasion in 1939, must have been racists. They should have welcomed. They should have welcomed the invader. But is it not true that self-defense is an instinct that comes with being alive? Is it not true that the whole of life on earth is founded on defending your own? Is it not true that this human species is not made up of solitary creatures like snow leopards, but of creatures who belong in membership? Is it not true that this membership is biological, that humans belong in biological collectives? Is it not true that these biological collectives are family, kindred, nation? Is it not true that the instinct of self-defense is conserved through all these collectives, including the nation? And yet, we have anti-racism. Does not anti-racism declare that the instinct of wanting to keep, for example, England English is evil, Nazi, Hitler, Auschwitz, gas chamber? It would appear, would it not, that anti-racism has declared war on humanity's very biology. Alien invasion and nation are terms politically incorrect, however they are biologically correct. Alien, invasion, and home and nation are fundamental biological concepts. Home has a biological definition. No, it's not your flat, your semi, your stately home. Home is what keeps you alive. This is the biological definition of home. What keeps you alive? So you see why your home is not your flat, your semi, or your stately home. It is not even your local supermarket. Your home is nothing less than your nation. Your nation is your home because your nation organizes your survival. No, not the United Nations, not the European Union, not political correctness. None of these gives a damn about your survival. Only the nation. The unit of organization of keeping you alive is the nation. If you do not guard it, you are insane. You know where you live, don't you? No, you don't. You don't live there. You live where your survival comes from. Where's that? You don't know. You don't know where you live. The old cottager knew where he lived. His cottage but was one unit of his living. Behind it the vegetables and the pig, the pecking poultry under the apple tree. Beyond lies the long strip where his bread comes from, and the rough grazing for his milch cow. So he is right when he tells you where he lives. Strip away the survival and just leave the cottage, and what you have, however pretty, is not a cottage, but a coffin box. And in it are lost children who do not know that they are lost, who are too busy playing in their playhouse to bother about survival. Coffin box, playhouse, and you call it living. And yet you know the truth. You know it's a coffin box in rows of coffin boxes in graveyards the size of shires. You know it's a coffin box because you allow nothing alive in it. No cricket sings on its hearth, no spider in cobweb corner, no fluttering moth, no daddied longlegs in a tangle. You know that you cannot live in your coffin box playhouse because you are always rushing away from it both inwards and outwards. Outwards to your car, your next holiday, shopping trip, amusement. Inwards to the television, internet, iPod. If you had to stop rushing and sit still, you would know you are sitting in your coffin box. And you would go home. Where? Home is where your survival comes from. Home is your nation. But this nation has not land enough to feed its population. So what does sanity do? Guards every field, guards every blade of grass, urgently brings land back into food production, keeps out the alien, sends home the visitors, and organizes importation of food as a survival matter and not a matter of trade. It is the nation and none other that organizes and oversees the importation of your survival, and executes a rational program to equate food supply with population, or nature will do it for us. Are you sane? No. So go home. In home is healing and survival. Thus, homeland, nation, alien, and invasion are biological concepts. Biological concepts are the rules of life, the rules of reality, the rules of survival. Have we escaped them? Visit the Arctic. Go find the islands the rising sea has swallowed. Go greet the storm. Warm yourself in the fiery forests. Visit the graveyards of the dead animals. A racist is one who recognizes that the concepts of home, nation, alien, invasion, and race are survival concepts. A racist is one who recognizes that exclusivity is a biological concept, recognizes that without exclusivity there is no life. In so doing, the racist recognizes and respects the facts of human life, of all life. In so doing, the racist recognizes that every man has his home. A racist is one who recognizes and respects every man's right to his home. A racist recognizes that man is not ubiquitous, that man is his races, his nation, his particular bit of earth. A racist recognizes that a human being is a member before he is an individual. A racist recognizes that in our species, survival is collective, not individual, and not any collective. In our species, survival is located in the biological collective, the family, the kin, the nation. A racist recognizes that it is the biological in the collective that saves it from becoming inhuman. Recognizes that biological membership is the sanity of individuals. A racist recognizes that the denial of this is the hatred of humanity. The biological collective is the nation. The nation is not a club that anyone can join. For example, you can become a New Zealander, but you cannot become a Maori. You can become a Canadian, but you cannot become an Inuit. You can become an American, but you cannot become a Native American. By any biological definition, New Zealand, Canada and America are not nations, are not real places. And it is no coincidence that these unreal places are the abode of the white man, the locust of earth. The racist recognizes that being locust of his own homeland is no repentance for his locust of others' homelands, recognizes that he must stop being white man and become Englishman, as Inuit is Inuit and Maori is Maori. Furthermore, the racist recognizes that diversity is human survival, recognizes that diversity is expressed not by the individual but by the nation. Human diversity is diversities of nations. The genius of China is not the genius of Greece. Their duty is to be different. To be different requires national integrity, requires exclusivity. The racist recognizes that nation is these because nation is adaptability to the particular earth the soil selects. Inuit is not Aborigine because snow is not sand. Inuit and Aborigine are therefore not interchangeable. Each must guard his integrity, his exclusivity. Dilution of their survivability by aliens moving in is like water into wine. Home love is in our very genes. A racist knows this and lives this. A racist knows the true right of man, earthright. Not ownership, not territory, not sovereign territory, earthright. Our duty, not just to our forebears and to our children, but to our species and to life itself, is to defend our home, our earthrights. Earthright is a people's exclusive right to their inherited earth, their survival land. No law can deprive them of it. The only right of their neighbors is that they use it wisely as a part of our shared planet. Anti-racism is biological perversion. Our forebears had a profound wisdom. The name they gave it, spelt A-E, roughly pronounced air, meaning the banks between which the river flowed, meaning there are things you do not change. Later on, our forebears warned in different language. They warned, do not play God. My words for this are, live within the rightness of your being. Where has playing God brought man? To the brink. Of course, pride goes before a fall. Come home, man. Anti-racism is only one of the biological versions or symptoms of the fatal disease of liberalism. Liberalism indoctrinates that if, say, one is on a ship, one should never concern oneself with the well-being of the ship, only with playing games in one's play cabin. Liberalism, anti-racism, is the hatred of reality. Mind your own business. The racist is a stay-at-home. Happiness is at home. Racist is one who knows how to mind his own business. Mind your own business is the wisest wisdom, from which comes peace on earth. Mind your own business. A racist is one who recognizes that his home love is his neighbor's home love. As he is not invaded, so he does not invade. He recognizes earthrights. As he recognizes the right of the English to England, so he recognizes the right of the Kurds to their Kurdistan, the Tibetans to their Tibet, the Palestinians to their Palestine, the Irish to their island. Mind your own business. The racist is stay at home. All forms of migration are parasitic menace. Tourism has made a whore of the whole world. The best of men becomes the worst of men when he leaves his home and enters another's. Peace in the village is peace on earth, every man at home in his home. But now I must ask, who is my homeland's first enemy? I am. It is time now to remember that the human true to his humanity is the green racist. Green is the color of life. Green is the planet's promise to man, the promise that the earth is man's faithful mother, the promise of life continuous. But the green has an enemy. The enemy of the green is the enemy of man. The enemy of the green is man. Man has no enemy but man. What he should worship as his true God, he skins alive. He strips the green skin off the earth, leaving desert. Desert is the promise of death. So the green racist stays at home to guard the green of England. He guards it from himself. He is on a diet. He doesn't eat the earth to death. He is not a consumer. He is not a consumer of holidays, houses, cars, roads, airports, quarries. Consumer is a word we will come back to. Liberalism is not the only evil. Satan has two faces. The other face you call capitalism. Liberalism and capitalism are united in consumerism. Because the green racist has a purpose, something sacred to guard, he doesn't need to be a consumer. That is to say, he doesn't need to be greedy. He doesn't need to fall into addiction. What he has to guard is life. Therefore he is not a hypocrite. He doesn't confront the greedy while being greedy himself. He doesn't suffer from the psychosis of self-delusion, seeing everybody else's greed while blind to his own. He has obeyed Apollo. He knows himself. In other words, he is not politically correct. He abominates liberalism and all its works. What was liberated by the French Revolution was not liberty, it was hatred, the right to hate, the right to blame. Revolution is hatred of the past, and however positive it may appear, it is negation of the way of the past. The hatred is a father, the paternalistic age. Hatred is the last clinging before letting the past go and daring the hopeless night for the unpromised dawn. The young are obsessed with the hatred of the past because they don't want to take up their responsibility. They hate the past because they can't let it go. And so now, the only choice that is left to man is to choose your hatred. The liberalists hate humanity uniquely. The Marxists were positive lovers compared to the liberalists. The object of liberalist hatred is the entire past of humanity, all the way to our genes, to dissolve the whole species to dislocated, uprooted, identityless, belongingless, naked individuals, and then reconstruct us, all the billions of us. Pol Pot tried that in Kampuchea. He called it Year Zero. So no wonder they hate racists. Racists refuse to be reconstructed. Racists are true to the evolved nature of man. Test that what I say is true is liberalism's attitude to opposition. Like the other two evil revolutionary ideologies, liberalism claims to be the sole possessor of absolute truth. Liberalism, like its predecessors, has a murderous horror of opposition, of nonconformity, of dissidence, and it has its hate scream, not Jew, but racist. It's a good hate scream, racist. You should try it. You can spit it out with venom. Racist. Racist. The hatred is righteous. It's righteous hatred. They believe they have the right to kill. As far as opposition is concerned, here is the absolute truth. No man has more than half the truth. No man has more than half the truth. That is love. Let go, not your truth, but that your truth is the only truth. Let go and live. You know football, there has to be two teams. Each team believes that it is football and it's going to show it. If it believed that it was the only team, that it alone was football, it wouldn't go onto the playing field to kick a ball about. It would go onto the playing field with the machine guns, concentration camps, gulags and gas chambers. You know the yin and yang. What is yin without yang? What is yang without yin? Nazism, communism, liberalism. That's what. Revolutionary blindness is a virulent compound of the twin psychoses of self-delusion and denial, whereby revolutionaries can hate and see love, destroy and see creation, murder and see new life. The liberalist revolutionaries have total control of the British state. A coup d'etat, in fact. By slow infiltration, department by department. The state is the unelected controllers. They appoint their successors. The liberalist state is a law unto itself. Politicians have long since lost control. The old Britain is dead, as dead as the old Tsarist Russia was dead after the communist takeover. So stop asking silly questions, such as how can the British Bobby do such a thing? The British Bobby is dead. We have a liberalist police force now. So stop asking silly questions such as how can a British judge give such a judgment? The British judge is dead. We have a liberalist judiciary now. So stop asking silly questions such as how can the British Home Office be so incompetent in dealing with illegal immigrants? The British Home Office is dead. We have a liberalist Home Office now, and they are not incompetent. They want the illegal immigrants, the more the better, because all the immigrants from the Empire Windrush onwards are loyal not to Britain, but to anti-racism. So stop believing silly things, such as the British Tommy would never fire on Britons. The British Tommy is dead. We have a liberalist army now. And as the Chinese People's Army massacred the young Chinese in Tiananmen Square, so the anti-racist army will massacre racists when ordered to do so. So stop asking silly questions. Your mind is a dinosaur in a fog. Clear your mind, see clearly. Britain is dead. It is England you must save. But the anti-racists cannot rest until England is dead, hence the millions of the immigrants, a novel sort of genocide, hence the true name of the anti-racists, bent Nazi. Nazis do it to Jews, bent Nazis do it to their own people. But the bent Nazis have forgotten biology. Overcrowded England is heading for crash, and that means starvation. And you know what? Suddenly the immigrants will remember their homelands. Rats that crowd onto the floating ship flee the sinking ship. Another thing now totally controlled by liberalists is education and the media. What we have now in this country is a population that you might describe as the children of a liberalist education. Their education was not, in any sense, an opening. It was a totalitarian education, not for freedom of thought, but to program the right thought. Perpetual indoctrination, i.e., perpetual brainwashing. I repeat, all revolutions hate the past. The past used to be revered because the past was the giver of life. The past was not reformed in revolution, but murdered. But only the liberalist, anti-racist revolution hates the past as far back as our evolved human nature. What this means in practice is the hatred and refusal of the successor of the alpha male, the age of paternalism, the age of the patriarch. Liberalists indoctrinate children to abominate and refuse adulthood. They brainwash the lie that human maturity and fulfillment is reached when you have achieved mutual masturbation. What liberalists mean by racism, in fact, is inheritance accepted, is life continuous, is fatherhood. The refusal of adulthood is the abomination and refusal of life. It is treason against life. Life is flow. Anti-racists are flow breakers, dead enders, the dry river. They hide their refusal of fatherhood behind their blame of father, whom they name a racist and abuser. Father must be satanized, so that they need never depart adolescence. And satanized he is in ceaseless indoctrination of fear and loathing in book and classroom, film and TV. He is the buggerer of his boys and the rapist of his daughters. What do as opposed to fatherhood? They play with themselves. When you reach adolescence, your toys become dildos. And your favorite dildo is hatred. Having a hate session is better than a shopping session or a holiday session. Nothing like it, a good hate. I've said already, try it out. Try it. Spit it out. Racist. 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 Hatred is hugely popular. It is easier than love. Anti-racism is hugely popular. It is easier than life. Let's repeat. Why hate father and fatherhood? Remember, hatred is the last clinging. There's a boy, a child, with his father, walking along a crowded pavement. Suddenly the father falls down. At first the boy thinks it's a joke. He laughs, but father doesn't get up. So he says, "Father, get up now." But father doesn't get up. And he repeats, and he begins to cry it. "Father, get up! Get up, father! Get up, father!" But father doesn't get up. Then he kicks father. "Get up! Get up! Get up!" But father doesn't get up. The progress of hatred. So hatred is the final clinging before letting go. It starts all fiery, rage. Rage cools and solidifies. Hatred. Hatred becomes the shape of thinking, becomes an ideology, a critique. Next, how calm hatred is. It never shouts. Then you notice how arctic hatred is. When it speaks, it is like the cracking of glaciers. Hatred then is into its purity. It has entered ice-cold indifference. Finally, ice-cold indifference becomes the one-sea mind. The one-sea mind is not confined to Nazis. The Marxists had it in abundance. So do liberalists. Beware the bent Nazi. And beware this as well. Bent Nazism empowers the Nazism of the other races of man. Because white man is wicked, their Nazism is justified Nazism. The liberalists make a critique of their hatred of the past. The critique is white man wickedness. The other races of man borrow this critique. It confers upon them the right to hate. This critique of white man wickedness is their right to migrate to hate. All revolutionaries believe they have a right to kill. The liberalist revolutionaries, through their critique of white man wickedness, confer this right upon the immigrants, hence the murder of 3 little girls. They are dead. But the murderer is the victim. Those murders are anti-racist murders. The liberalist state is the state that has learnt at last that control of the population is best achieved not by the gun, but by the toy. Remember, the adolescent changes his toy to his dildo. Keep them playing with their toys, and they'll never threaten the state. The hatred of the past is hatred of the morality of the past. The morality of the past was self-restraint, saying no to yourself. The idea was that man had a wild beast inside himself which should not be let out of its cage. Experience of human behavior led to this idea. Let us call this the morality of no. Then came the liberalist revolution. It is revolutionary truth that no, or self-denial, is the cause of all the illness of soul and society. If only Hitler had had a good orgasm. This is not because the liberalist revolutionaries had a truer understanding than the past. It is because they are trapped inside revolutionary logic. Revolution is negation. The negation of or opposite of no is yes. Therefore, liberalist revolutionary morality is not no, don't do it, but yes, do it. Yes is not optional. Yes is compulsory. And the consequence is known to all such organizations as Alcoholics Anonymous, who know well that in this species alone of all species, no saves and yes kills. What was the first achievement of sexual liberation? AIDS. Look at England now. The wild beast is out of his cage. What the revolutionaries seek is the abolition of a paternal authority, which through many shifts is descended from the alpha male. The absence of authority is the presence of murder. Compulsory morality of yes, or anti-morality, is also called consumerism. And it is in consumerism, compulsory consumerism, that the third revolutionary evil is at one with the fourth evil, which you call capitalism. That is not the right name, but it will do for now. Without consumerism, there is no capitalism. If you're not buying your toys, the shopkeeper is not stocking them. If the shopkeeper is not stocking them, the manufacturer is not making them. If the manufacturer is not making them, the raw material is not being raped from the earth. And if it's not being raped from the earth, then Rothschild is not investing. And it all falls down. There is another unity of capitalism and liberalism, which arises out of consumerism. Every immigrant is a consumer. The more immigrant, the more business. Mass immigration is good for the economy. There is a critical housing shortage. We must build houses, millions, on food land, of course. Your mind, remember, is a dinosaur in a fog. Clear your mind. We have already seen that the anti-racists do not run England. Their lack of self-control, their lack of discretion, their dementia is running it to crash and starvation. And you also think that capitalists run the world. You think that money runs the world, but they don't run the world. The world is not run by capitalists or even money. The world is run by biology. Stop being a dinosaur in a fog. Stop thinking conspiracy. Capitalism isn't a conspiracy. No winners. Even if Rothschild had all the money in the world, he couldn't buy himself another planet. He carries on because he can't stop. It's just another form of defense against despair, just another hatred of life, the earth killer's hatred of life. If we are a biological species, then our sanity is rooted in fidelity to our biology. Look at the gardener, look at the urban adolescent. Let me repeat. Sanity is biological, rooted in the right earth, in the gardening nation, each child with an unambiguous racial identity, with a kindred of grown-up humans that wraps itself around the child as the womb wraps itself around the fetus, busy in the garden from the earliest age, instinctively learning his skills, dutifully taught his skills, knowing his border. Such a child sleeps through all his dancing days, and he grows up a man. But that the liberalists cannot allow. Their intent is to shut up each of their child victims in the solitary confinement of perpetual childishness. After puberty, as I've said twice already, his toys are dildos. His fullest maturity is mutual masturbation. The earth is not his survival, the earth is his playroom. He is as the descendants of Oriental despots were, who, raised by terrified slaves, not only were incapable of governance, but didn't even know that there was anything to govern, and so fat that they could not shift from their splendid soiled beds, and were put to the sword by the young shepherds who swept down from the hills. The gift of the true parent is the child's strong hold on life. And the heart of this is the ability to tolerate no. Biological necessity was the best teacher. Mother could not always be present, always fondling her baby. She had work to do. First her yes, then her no. Baby had to learn that her going away from him was not her absence, but her otherness. She was doing something else. This is the virtue of no, the tolerance of negation, learning that it's otherness. Darkness is not the negation of light. The inability to tolerate negation used to be called the spoilt child. The spoilt child is an ill-wrought ship, sails well on calm sea, but the first wave swamps it. Siddhartha Gautama, called the Buddha, was born a prince. He was raised in a garden of hours and roses. But the Buddha was a prince of the hero age. He was loved, he was not spoilt. One warm and perfumed afternoon he saw what he had not seen before, a door in the garden wall. It was largely concealed by hanging flowers so languorous that they could not lift their long, sweet heads. Filled with curiosity, he went to the door and opened it. Outside was sickness, old age, and death. True to his nurturing in the heroic tradition, he accepted the challenge. He would set out at once on his great quest to find what lay beyond. If he had been spoilt, that is, if he had been the child of a liberalist education, he would have screamed, slammed the door shut, remembered that he had been abused as a child, slapped his nurse, and demanded cake.